Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down the exact granular mechanics of how market prices are set. We aren't just looking at the big picture here. We are zooming way in on the absolute details of supply and demand to see exactly how these invisible forces dictate the world around us. Let's get right into it.
We're going to build our understanding block by block today. We'll start with understanding consumer demand, the details of shifting demand, understanding producer supply, and the details of shifting supply. Then, the grand climax, achieving market equilibrium, before finally wrapping up with a little prep for your quiz.
All right, Section 1, Understanding Consumer Demand. To really grasp the whole market, we first have to understand the specific forces that make individual buyers tick. So, the law of demand establishes our foundational rule, right? It states there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, assuming literally all other factors remain constant, which is a condition economists call ceteris paribus. Simply put, as prices go down, the quantity that buyers demand goes up. Pretty intuitive, for sure. But let's look at a really concrete example. Think about a consumer named Sophie and her demand schedule for gelato. Notice the exact math at play here. Her consumption increases by exactly one cone for every single dollar the price drops. At $6, she only wants one, but at $2, she's ready to buy 5. This numeric schedule maps her exact willingness to buy. And when we take those specific data points and plot them, we get her downward sloping demand curve. This perfectly visualizes her buying behavior. Every single point on this line represents a strict mathematical relationship between price and quantity for Sophie. Okay, so how does this scale up? Well, if we assume there are 1,000 consumers just like Sophie in the market, we don't have to guess the total demand. By mathematically multiplying Sophie's specific quantities by 1,000 at every single price point, we construct the total market's demand curve. It's the exact same downward slope, just scaled way up. Moving to Section 2, the details of shifting demand. Because price isn't the only factor at play here, we need to examine what else can change consumer behavior. This is where paying attention to the details really matters. It is absolutely crucial for your understanding to draw a hard, definitive line between these two concepts, sliding along an existing curve versus shifting the curve entirely. A change in the price of the good itself, that just causes a movement along the established line, but a change in an outside factor, a non-price determinant, that completely shifts the entire relationship.
This causation chain is brilliant. Think about it. A simple price decrease from $5 to $4 just slides you from point A to B. You're just moving along the curve. But a change in an outside factor completely pushes the whole curve over. Even at the exact same $5 price, the fundamental demand has increased.
The trick is knowing exactly what those outside factors are. These 5 specific non-price determinants are the triggers you absolutely must look out for: the number of buyers, changes in tastes, shifts in income, future expectations, and the prices of related goods. Like, if the price of frozen yogurt skyrockets, the entire demand curve for gelato shifts outward. These are the exclusive forces that cause a total shift.
All right, Section 3, Understanding Producer Supply. We've mastered the buyer's perspective, so let's completely flip the script and analyze the producer. Producers operate under the law of supply, which is the exact opposite of demand. This law represents a direct relationship, meaning producers are highly incentivized to bring more goods to market when the price is higher. Again, assuming all other factors are held perfectly constant. Mirroring our buyer, let's examine a seller named Gela. Her supply schedule reveals a perfect numerical step. At $2, she's only willing to supply 100 cones. But for every single dollar the price rises, she offers exactly 100 more. By the time we hit $6, she is highly motivated and supplying 500 cones. Plotting those exact data points gives us an upward sloping curve, visualizing her direct response to price incentives. As the price goes up, her business model becomes crystal clear. Higher potential revenue directly yields higher production output. Section 4, the details of shifting supply. Just like with the buyers, we need to pinpoint what outside forces can completely alter a producer's willingness to sell. And you'll notice the exact same causation pattern here. A simple price increase from $3 to $4 just slides you up the existing supply line. But a non-price determinant, say a brand new, cheaper way to make gelato, shifts the entire supply capacity. So even at the same $3 price, way more gelato is being supplied to the market.
Pay really close attention to these 5 variables: the number of sellers, technology, input prices, taxes and subsidies, and producer expectations. They're the exclusive triggers for a complete supply shift. For instance, if the price of milk, a major input, drops, the entire curve moves.
Which brings us to Section 5, Achieving Market Equilibrium. We have our 2 building blocks: buyers mapping downward, sellers mapping upward. It's finally time to bring them into the same arena.
Now, a market isn't necessarily a physical place. It's simply the battleground, any arrangement where these 2 opposing forces negotiate to find a common ground on price and quantity. It's where Sophie's demand and jealous supply finally collide. So the crucial detail in this data is that at exactly $4, we hit a magical stationary condition. Just look at the numbers. At $6, there's excess supply, creating downward pressure. Down at $2, there's a shortage, creating upward pressure. But at exactly $4, the 3,000 cones demanded perfectly matches the 3,000 cones supplied.
The visual of this is striking. That dramatic X marking equilibrium brilliantly illustrates how downward pressure from excess supply and upward pressure from excess demand perfectly cancel each other out right at that intersection. That specific point is the market price.
Finally, Section 6, Preparing for your quiz. You've mastered the granular mechanics, from individual schedules to market intersections, so let's focus on real-world application. With your in-class quiz coming up, rote memorization just isn't going to cut it. Recognizing the exact difference between a shift caused by an outside determinant and a movement caused by a simple price change is what will secure you a top grade. The details are where you're going to find the answers.
Knowing the specific causation chains of why these curves behave the way they do gives you an incredible advantage, both on your exam and in reality. The market is really just a series of logical, predictable reactions. So what I want to leave you with is this. The next time you buy a cup of coffee or a concert ticket, ask yourself, what invisible forces just shifted to make you pay that exact price?